Man, they killed this man. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Welcome Combat Sports. On the mic once again, on a very sensitive subject on what just transpired over in Minneapolis. And point blank period, man, for those of you that's tuned in, if you choose not to listen to it, so be it. I get it. I understand. But you know what? If you do, just drop your comments below. And it's much appreciated. My first thing I want to say is that this is absolutely murder. I looked at this man, another black man laying face down on the pavement, handcuffed, restrained, and everything else. And in my opinion, from my visual, it looked like everything was, in control. You had the body. You had the hands restrained. You had a total of 4 cowards in the proximity of this individual. 4 that took the oath. They say, you know what? We're supposed to go out here and abide by a certain standard and protection under an oath. And what they did, this motherfucker went out here and murdered this cat, George Floyd. It's not up to me to sit up here and listen to someone tell me different. When someone has their knee on a part of an individual's body that prevents them, and we all know how much oxygen it takes, how much oxygen your brain needs to survive, how much water your body needs to survive over a period of time. But when it comes to the brain, we already know there's a percentage of oxygen that is mandatory for your brain to continue to provide life and consciousness to a human being. And once that is depleted or subdued, prohibited, then you go into an unconscious state. And you can still be revived if by chance, you're able to be recovered or resuscitated in enough time. And you provided oxygen. But you see the motherfucker, you see how he looked. Did you see how this dude looked? He didn't have a care in the world, people. He was stoic. Let me look this motherfucker up again. I know his name was Charles something. And please don't get on this channel talking about, somebody pulling the race card. That's not even close to what's going on. I'm telling you from what I've seen. This motherfucker murdered George Floyd. Period. It don't have shit to do with the overall PD department. No, that motherfucker was acting. And that's why I always tell people about leaders. Just because you wear a uniform don't mean you're a fucking leader. That dude had his neck pinned down and he was unable to breathe. And the man was begging for his life, pleading with his life. And we've heard this same thing before. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Hey, I can't breathe. The motherfucker was face down on his stomach with no other room. He didn't have any other option. It ain't like he could go through the pavement. Though at that time, he probably wished he could. He could have wished he could have had the option to move around if it was just that one cop to try to create space in between the knee and his artery that was cut off and preventing him from breathing. And did y'all see how this motherfucker was rolling his leg over George's neck? This motherfucker was a murderer, dog. Nobody in their right mind would sit up here and debate that shit. I don't care what race you are. It's no way that you can sit up here and debate what you saw. It was horrendous, man. I literally sat up here watching that shit as that dude life went out. You know what I'm saying? I felt for the man. I did. I felt for him. I felt for the brother. I felt that, here's another black man that's basically in a situation where he's in a real bad place. Like Eric Garner, for him to get put in the chokehold just for selling single cigarettes, and it was against the law on the corner. This dude right here, from my understanding, was pretty much resisting to get, talking. They had some type of resistance from him, and he didn't comply to get into the vehicle immediately. So it ended up like you're supposed to do. You're supposed to call for backup, right? So once again, if one black man is that strong, then where's the non-lethal? Okay, you use the non-lethal, the taser, you put him down, and you're able to handcuff him because you have more bodies on deck in the proximity, right? That's not enough. The man is restrained, but damn, here we go again. We're dealing with an immortal. What you gonna allow us to be? Are we gonna be inferior or we immortals? Because you can't be both. You can't say we're inferior, but yet we're immortal. You can't say we're even more stronger and immortal once we're constrained and dangerous, intimidating. What the fuck is going on? You can't have it both ways, man. You can't treat some of these people that's dying like they're inferior, like we don't know any better, but yet we're some of the most dangerous individuals ever in life. We're still human beings at the beginning and the end of the day. But the way that man rolled his knee over George Floyd's neck, and we, along with millions, saw this man's life leave. I'm not gonna lie, it was heartbreaking, for real. It was heartbreaking. It was some tough shit to watch. You know what I'm saying? Without getting upset at the coward who had his motherfucking knee on his neck and took that man's life. It don't matter if the man was on drugs. It don't matter none. You know, you had the Asian law enforcement up there standing talking about don't do drugs. So it's a lot of motherfuckers in Hollywood doing drugs and dope heads. But I guess cocaine is a social drug when you're on that tier. This motherfucker say don't do drugs, but yet he's not even caring one iota about the dude that's on the ground begging and pleading and begging and pleading. I can't breathe. We need to stop trying to substitute a motherfucking situation that he's in just from what he did previously. If you reach the point where you are able to restrain somebody, you have completed the process for which you was trained to do. You have absolutely restrained the individual, and now you process them and take them down to county or wherever they're supposed to be. That's it. But you don't go out here with with multiple people who are trained to do the same thing you're doing, and you act like the man is unrestrained, running around here rampant on PCP, buck wild, out of control. No, the man is laying face down on the pavement, man, where all the dirt and scum is at. He has no more fight left. He has no more options. It's over and done with. No matter what drugs he got in his system, he is restrained with his hands behind his back. So therefore, what is the cause to sit up here and keep your knee on his neck, even when the EMT arrives and he's not moving? And when they bring the stretcher over there, you still have your knee on his neck and the man is not fucking moving. That shit is fucked up, man. I'm not going to go back and forth and say, you know, he should have did. I'm talking about what transpired in front of our eyes. That shit that went down with that man life being taken in front of our eyes in 2020 was murder, period. You cannot say a black man in society walking around is inferior to be judged on the same status as other racial groups, ethnicities, or what have you. But then when you're placed in a situation where you have the opportunity to follow protocol and format, which you was trained for, you have multiple individuals that was there to assist and put this man on the ground where he's supposed to be, to put him in the back of the car. You trying to tell me you weak motherfuckers couldn't get that dude in the car? You couldn't get George in the car. It's 4 of y'all. 3 of y'all was right there where the man was laying down. You couldn't put his ass in the car? You don't even need to be on the force. It's 4 y'all on site. One motherfucker up there just talking stupid as fuck to civilians, and shout out to the brother who was up there pleading for them to stop. He was begging. He was like saying, dude, just take your knee off. Man, y'all got him, man. Just take the pressure. Relieve the pressure, man. Stop. You killing him. I just have to give him that bit of credit for standing there and advocating for a man that was on his deathbed and didn't even know that would be the last place that he actually lied before he goes and not walk another day on this earth. Unfortunately, it had to be the dirty scum of pavement that he was placed on for whatever reason, that happened before that, but he was restrained. And when it came down to the point of him not moving anymore, then shit, what did you get paid for? What did you go to the damn academy for? Shout out to everybody that's on deck. Q said, I wonder how many of these murders happened without camera footage. She said, right up, very thought-provoking. I agree, man. For what I understand about this individual is that he has some on-the-job, he has some on-duty shootings, which, once again, you can't grandfather situations into the current situation unless he was basically reprimanded for it or he had write-ups or he was put on desk duty or whatever the case may be. Okay? But when it comes down to him just doing his job, if that was the case, okay. But he murdered that man. Period. Shout out Line Killer in the building, man. Salute to you. Shout out Q in the building. Principals. KZ, salute to you. Let me get to these chats. I'm sick of all this. It's time to ride. Line Killer going to go hard and live on this and the overall subject of the weakness of the community on incidents like this. I will send you a like in 90 minutes. All right, no doubt, Line Killer, for sure. KZ said, I saw this was bullying. Man, it was bullying. It was abuse of authority. It was murder. It was murder, and it was murder. Period. Regardless if the man, that's just like me being in the service and I'm over in combat, and you have veterans who are locked up for exceeding what they were supposed to do as far as apprehending any type of insurgency or anything. If they took them individuals into custody and shot them, it's murder. We get in trouble just the same. It's the same here. This dude took advantage of the shield that he was supposed to serve and protect, and he goddamn killed the dude. I can't say it was a lynching because not everybody that was involved, we don't have an understanding as to them being conspirators. You know what I'm saying? Conspiring to go out and carry the evil deed of hoping this guy dies on the spot. We can't say that. And he wasn't hunted down. Obviously, George Floyd was doing something, and they arrested him. And he didn't immediately comply. And I'm not saying he was there just by case, just by coincidence. I'm not saying that shit. I'm saying when it came down to him finally being restrained by individuals who are trained and fully approved to be on the street to operate as enforcement, as peace officers, then you're supposed to stick by the oath for which you were sworn under. Not sit there and motherfucking have your knee on that nigga neck, man. You kill that motherfucker, man. You goddamn tortured. This motherfucker suffered and suffered and suffered while this dude had his hand in his pocket, leaning on his neck. He was leaning on this dude's neck with all his body weight, man. While this untrained sack of shit just sat up there and watched while you have bystanders pleading with him to do the right thing. If Chow would have turned around and said, hey man, that's a little bit excessive. Because I would definitely want my comrades to do the same. That's a little bit excessive, bro. Come on, man. That's a little bit excessive. Chill. Let's just put him in the vehicle. We good. Put him in the vehicle. But no, not sit up there and put all your motherfucking body weight on dude. And we all know how sensitive the neck is. George Floyd didn't have a chance, man, when he was handcuffed. He didn't have a chance. And I know what's going to come out. I can only imagine. Oh, it was drugs in the system. It was drugs in the system. Just like Chow, the officer who was up there supposed to provide security for the officers that was hiding behind the vehicle as their partner had his freaking knee with his hand in his pocket, using all his fucking weight, rolling this. Look, he was rolling his knee when the dude said he couldn't breathe. He was rolling his knee to prove a point. Somehow, some way, George Floyd may potentially piss this dude off. You know what I'm saying? You heard the brother saying he's not even resisting arrest right now, bro. Tell the officer and his partner, you're fucking stopping his breathing right now. You think that's cool? The brother that was standing up there, as you see in the thumbnail, in the blue sweats, man, he was there trying to sit up here and cry for help to stop. I don't know any other word to say except fucked up, bro. It's absolutely a tragedy. It's just something, you know, that it's not like racism is coming back to the surface. It's never went anywhere. It's just we have many different angles for it to be exposed now. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't went anywhere. No one's going to convince me that this wasn't racism. The way that guy looked without any type of remorse on his face, any type of expression, any of that, this dude was searching. He was searching for that feeling, for his body to go limp, for his body to go lifeless. He pretty much understands that is a potential restraining position that they may put a suspect in to restrain them. But after a while, even if they tell you in the academy, it can cut off circulation and oxygen to the brain. That goes without saying to whoever's freaking teaching the movement. Out of respect, they're going to tell the officers, hey, this, if you put them in this, you put your knee on there, you use your body weight, this will feel very uncomfortable to the suspect. And by the way, if you stay there too long, they will lose consciousness. But when you're standing there with your knee, with your hand in your pocket, your left hand in your pocket, and you're rolling your knee on someone's neck, for several freaking minutes, George Floyd was dead. There's nothing he can do, man. It was done. It's nothing George Floyd could have did, man. Even if he internally was praying, This is when it comes into to a point where someone else that may not have known George would have been better off sacrificing themselves to just remove the officer off the neck. They might have went to jail, but you know what? You know what? When I got out, people would have looked at me and said, damn, thank you for saving that dude's life. And maybe it would have changed his life. But just to go and push the officer off the neck of that individuals that was restrained with handcuffs, that's the ultimate, that's a sacrifice. Who's willing to do that? Regardless of what race you are, if we want to talk about blacks in general, we're talking about, damn, dialogue is over. After you keep on playing and playing and playing and nothing's happening, dialogue is over. If you totally understand the severity of the position that dude is in, no more dialogue is needed. Now it's time for action. And at that point in time, to save that individual was imminent. It should have been immediate. I got to take step 2. Whose heart would have been in that particular adrenaline? Who would have been in that particular place mentally to save a life? Who? What would your heart be? Could you have done it? Because we just seen a guy in 2020, the people in the street, foot traffic, vehicle traffic, someone recording. It didn't fucking matter, people. It never mattered to that guy who was damn pressing down on that dude's neck. He didn't care. Did you see how stoic he was? He didn't fucking care. Now, from what I'm hearing, those 4 officers have been terminated. I don't care. I don't care if they've been terminated. All I care now is that they're arrested and the justice system do their due diligence and taking these individuals to stand before. That's what I want to see. I want to see them stand before and pay for that shit. I would have ran over and pushed the cop off of him. I hear you, man. Same, for real. What is it going to do? You're going to get assault. It's not deadly. You know what I'm saying? Just to relieve the pressure. If he was to get off, just say, for instance, you would have did that and it relieved the pressure off the dude, and now you're arrested. If he was to go back over there and resume the position and then it would have been premeditated. It would have looked even worse for him. If the dude would have been coughing, and at one point in time he was coughing, and he was just in dire need, man. You know what I'm saying? He was screaming for help. And there was 2 other officers right there by his side, afraid, man. This guy, how his knee was on his neck wasn't even fully concealed. It was out in the open. He was out in the open. He's looking at the person who's recording. He didn't care, y'all. And everybody who's listening to this, y'all need to understand that he didn't freaking care. More and more of this is going on each and every day. And really, people need to understand how to handle a situation like that. And it's tough to put yourself in the situation of George Floyd, because it could have been me or you, and we both could have been in the same place, with burial arrangements and awaiting for the final word to come out, where someone's going to say, well, he had drugs in his system, he resisted arrest, and by the way, they tried aimlessly to place him in the back of the squad car, and it just didn't happen. So that's why he was on the ground. All right. So they, and during that process of restraint, they was able to get him handcuffed and restrained. That's the important part. After that, the threat level has decreased big time. So now what we do, We still have access to non-lethal, right? So if you got hands behind your back and you got 3 individuals right there, you're trying to tell me 3 individuals potentially weighing over 180, over 200 pounds could not pick that man up who had cuffs on and place him in the back of the vehicle? But you have Chow who's up there saying, well, we tried 10 minutes to put him in the vehicle and it didn't happen. Now you take his fucking life? Fuck all that, man. That's bullshit. Casey said, what's the real issue? If this cop isn't fired, put a prison for murder. That's what we should be really pissed about. It is. It's murder, man. I hope they brought the justice. For real. I hope they brought the justice. KZ said, cop logic. If you resist arrest, you're obligated to death. And some people are, yeah. But you know, me being prior military, I can't sit up here and say I haven't ran into good and bad on both sides of the spectrum. But in this particular case right here, I have to maintain my integrity. And what I seen was a guy who was full of hatred. What I seen was a guy who didn't care about the human life that was beneath his knee, who was under his control, because that officer had full control of the situation. It wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can go in the court of law and say, well, he was a threat. We seen that shit. We just seen the lady in the park with the guy who was bird watching, and he asked her to put her dog on a leash, and she sits up there when she's choking her dog out, so say, I'm frantic. How many times have we seen that shit? He's threatening me. He's threatening me. Well, what you gonna say about this guy that was on the ground? It's none of that can be, used as admissible evidence when it comes down to it. It's nothing that you can just put on the table and say he was a threat. We felt that he was a threat to everybody that was out there. We felt that he was a fucking threat when he was handcuffed. How the fuck you gonna prove that on the sound-minded people that's wearing the robe and a jury, if you get one, that he was a threat? They're gonna take the time of that video, thank God, that we don't have to wait 2.5 months like Ahmaud Arbery. We got immediate video where they're gonna be people that's looking at the minutes that passed by with him with his knee on this man's neck, the way he was looking, and the way no other officer was trying to dissuade him. Nobody was really taking control of the situation and say, you know what, you're going a little bit overboard, man. Chill, man. I ain't trying to goddamn go to prison. You about to kill this man. We all here, man. Let's just get him off the ground, put him in the back of the car. Let's do this. What you're doing right now, that shit's gonna be criminal if he dies. None of them. I don't want to hear no snitches. I don't want to see none of them 3 or 4 that was out there. I don't want to hear motherfuckers trying to flip and say, you know what, we knew he was like this. And I don't want to hear none of that shit. Because when it came down for you all to step up and take control of a situation, when it was actually going down, where you actually could have made a change in one person's life. It don't matter if he's on drugs. It doesn't matter. The point being is that the man was fucking restrained. And you killed him. You murdered him. You watched that man's life. You felt his life leave. You felt it. And you kept pressing. And you felt it. You enjoyed it. That man that man didn't even mean anything to you. That man begged. He wasn't even on his knees, y'all. The man wasn't even on his knees. He was as low as you can get to the scum of the earth by having his face to pavement. George Floyd was laying on the ground where we all know you're laying face first. It's no other place to go. And now word has come out that they fired the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Said he saw the entire video and called it wrong on every level. Once again, the mayor of Minneapolis say it's wrong on all levels, on every level. He had this to say: for the better part of the night, I've been trying to find the words to describe what happened. And all I keep coming back to is that he should have not died. What we saw was horrible, complete and utterly messed up. This man's life matters. He matters. He was someone's son, Frey said. I believe what I saw, and what I saw was wrong at every level. He repeats. This does not reflect the values that the chief Arredondo has worked tireless to instill. It does not represent the training we invested in or the measures we've taken to ensure accountability. Being black in America should not be a death sentence. That's coming from the mayor. They ain't coming from me. But I took caveat off what he said. I do concur. I do stand abreast. I'm not the one to get up here all the time and get in all deep into politics and racial divide and religion and all that. But when it comes to current events, it's not like I haven't experienced it. It's not like I was born any other race than what I am. And this is not a single projection as being pro anything. I'm talking about this man was murdered. He was murdered. He was murdered. He was killed. The man was tortured. Period. And this is right out the back door of Ahmaud Arbery's killers being arrested too, from being shot at point blank range with a shotgun as Travis McMichael walks away like the man was garbage. And then I know it's slick. I know it's it's easy to have social media terms and calling people Karens. But I'm telling you, my sister that passed away, her name was Karen. And it's no relation, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not putting anything personally. But social media is quick to place a tag on stuff. And then if it's catchy, people run with it. But I'm going to tell you, y'all, these Karens are going to get people killed. And I really hope, like, some of these law enforcement officers just understand that there are people out here exacerbating the point. They're blaming individuals for situations that are nowhere, culminating to the point of threats that they're trying to insinuate on the phone by speaking to 911. It's too many of these Karens that's out there that's exaggerating the point when people's lives are at stake. When you sit up here and give a description of a tall, big, menacing black man is endangering my life, please hurry up, and you're portraying yourself as being frantic, guess what's going to happen? Depending on where you at, what your location is, guess what? They're going to come on hot. That's what we call it. They're going to come in hot. Especially if they lie and say, I don't know what's in his pocket. What's that in his pocket? I think it might be a gun. Just like Travis McMichael tried to imply when Ahmaud Arbery was turning around and running into a dwelling. He's running away, and punk ass, bitch ass Travis McMichael is trying to sit up here and say, oh, I'm out of breath because I didn't know if he had a gun in his pocket or not. Ain't that some hoe ass shit? That's what you got to worry about when people exaggerating the point when it comes to us. Everything that's bulging in our pocket now is just another layer for us to walk around and be very, very cautious. Very cautious. Now we already understand how big phones are today. Phones is big as shit. There should be all hands meeting and saying, you know what? You need to put a visual and make sure that it's a weapon before you sit up here and shoot somebody down when you have non-lethal force. You need to make sure that you're looking at a motherfucking weapon. Not, oh shit. Once again, it was a phone, y'all. It was a phone. Don't worry about that shit. We thought it was a weapon. Travis McMichael was out of fucking breath because Ahmaud Arbery was running the opposite direction into a house, which had nothing to do with him, but due to his exaggeration, his hate, and his familiarity with the kid, he wanted to say a bulge in his pants or him reaching in his pants seemed like he was going for a weapon. How can you make that fucking insinuation, bruh? You don't have x-ray vision. What the fuck are you talking about? These niggas tripping. Motherfucking tripping. The cop has to be jailed, period. Where's the video of the other angle that shows all four? Well, I know with that particular video, the thumbnail that I got was showing all four from the backside. I'm pretty sure there's a video out there, but I don't have the video. Of course, if I would have had that video, I would have put it up. But check this out. Whenever you have a situation like this, when they finally come on the scene, they absolutely supposed to check around for individuals that was on site that had video, and they can subpoena your phone for that. So that's why you see most people in that situation, they walk away from the scene and then they just post it online. And then through that, you probably end up getting a message on your inbox or people calling you up from, the feds or law enforcement or whatever and say, oh, well, we need that video that you posted. Are you the owner of that video? We need it. Or whatever. We need the entire video so we can look at it, whatever the case. He knew the pressure he was applying, just salivated in it. The cop has to be in jail, period. Good on the mayor, now put them in jail. Shooter said pure murder, no doubt about this one. Even the look on the cop's face gave it away. Bighorn said all four officers will be charged with murder within days. And that's what we are. We believe what should happen. Okay. There's been other blatant visuals that we looked at, like Eric Garner, who was just selling single cigarettes. He was just on the corner selling single cigs. And yes, it was unlawful to do that. But since, once again, Eric Garner was over 250, he was big, they had to get a whole freaking unit to supposedly take this guy down when you're going for the head, when the only thing you could have did is basically use your non-lethal first. Tase him if he was getting. But the one thing about Eric Garner, look, he wasn't resisting though. He was just stumbling around because it was like 6 people on him. I don't know how many people was on him. I know he wasn't resisting. Take out the racial division, religion, and politics. This was pure murder, tormented to death in public. Put handcuffs on him so he couldn't defend himself to make it worse. Denise Ward's in the building. Salute to you, sister. Thanks for dropping in. Incomprehensible. I agree in all levels. It's incomprehensible. And for us to be subjected to this in 2020, when we don't have better things to worry about, when people are out of work, trying to stay above water, and now we have people who are supposed to be protecting us, and not all of them. I have to put that in there because I've experienced it. Not all of them, but I'm saying in this particular case, fuck them. This motherfucker goddamn murdered George Floyd. He murdered him. All them that was standing there, kneeled down behind that vehicle, and the one that was up there standing, who cares about them being terminated? No, we're talking about justice now. We ain't talking about no termination. That's easy work. We're talking about you getting time for murder. Malicious murder. And you know what it's going to come down to, right? Let's all say it. It's going to come down all manslaughter. If they get this motherfucker manslaughter, I hope they protest as long as that they possibly can over there in Minneapolis. They should. Because no way, no shape or form, this dude can say, you know what? I really didn't think that he wasn't moving. I think he was still a danger. And I hope the judge asked him, well, stand your bitch ass up and explain to me what we're looking at on the damn film. You know, what we're looking at right here on the video. You're actually looking down at him. So not only can you visually see he's not moving, you can feel that he's not moving. So you explain to me, how did you still think as a law enforcement officer that he was still a threat when you got two other scared motherfuckers by your right hand side that's just standing, just kneeling there, hiding behind the vehicle, not knowing what the fuck to do because they got a Goliath. You know what I'm saying? They got a Goliath there laying on the damn canvas. George Floyd, along with others that's lost their lives, somehow we're Goliaths. We are Goliath, man. We're motherfucking taller than average. And somehow we are transformed and morphed into immortal human beings. Well, we have to have 10, 15 units on motherfucking deck. And guaranteed they're going to come in hot because you're going to have everybody with a different story. According to how big you are, according to who you are, according to who's making the phone call, they're going to come in hot. Hot means they're going to come in with weapons drawn. They're going to come in with, any type of force that they can use with baton or whatever the case may be. And according to what group of people you got, it can get bad real quick. Jason Williams said, just checking in. I'm confused. If cop kill a person, they just lose their job. Well, for right now, the immediate reaction, which was probably came down hard and swift from Mayor Jacob Frey, was get them fools out of there. Because initially we heard that it was they was just put on administrative leave or something like that. They put on leave, suspended. Now we're hearing that they have been terminated. And still you have to factor in who it's coming from. It take a little bit of time. This is media. This is, all throughout the top tier networks. You got to make sure, you give yourself time to collectively read different sources on what this matter consists of. How serious is it? Are they really fired? And right now, from what I'm reading on different sources, that is indeed the case. You know what I'm saying? They are fired. But once again, if they free, then that's a problem. If they still free, it's a problem. Lord said, I love you, black people. I'm mad as hell, and I ain't gonna take it anymore. I'm not sure what you're trying to say, but I'm not gonna show it any attention. Let me see. Toronto said whoever for this video got to share it, then they should save it just in case. I'm pretty sure the video is gonna be out there. Whoever took this picture from the back, it can't just be a still frame. It has to be a vid. You know what I'm saying? He was sitting in his car. Okay, if the dude was sitting in his car, then I'm pretty sure that video should come out. Appreciate that, line killer, for sure. This angle here, say this video is ammunition. This is the worst one yet. On this angle, this is the worst one yet. Space gaming. Right now in Minneapolis, there are so many protests. I'm about to go to one. For sure, man. Toronto, I'm out before I say something that gets me arrested. One love, bro. This one hurts. Salute, Toronto. Thanks for dropping in, man. Thanks for dropping your input. For sure. But just to make it a point, there are always going to be individuals that step in here with the comfort zone of hiding behind home keys and a screen and be fake, period. I'm not going to, get all out of control and yell, kick, and scream about individuals that come up here and leave comments. I'm talking about specific matter at hand. That's it. And it's not that black people get together just because of one. It's too many people in population that sit up here and protest situations all over the world when you have hate coming from many sides. But from this particular situation, among others recently, I'm just speaking on it because absolutely it shouldn't be happening at all. Not even that. Not even that. It's just the blatant reality for which the setting is out in the open, in broad daylight, not at nighttime running through woods with goddamn lanterns and motherfucking flashlights and shit in concealment. No, this is broad daylight. People are being killed and hunted and pursued and slaughtered in broad daylight with the cameras rolling. So that tells me one thing. If you have given them just one smidgen of reason for them to say, you know what, I was right in the amount of force that I used. I was right. Because at that point in time, I felt my life was threatened. He was intimidating. I felt he was dangerous. Why do you feel he was dangerous? Because I didn't know if he had a weapon. Plus, he's over 6 feet tall. He was moving different. He just gave me a funny feeling. I mean, really, he made me uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, you do. You know how it goes. Like, you never knew, right? Like, did you see that in his pocket? Did you see the bulge in his pocket? He had some in his pocket. Well, why you didn't, restrain him and do a full search, check or whatever, and make sure he was clear? No, man, he was too dangerous. Then if you got scared people that's out here, which is not all of them, it's some real ones out there in uniform that'll real fuck you up on the spot. But the ones that are scared to engage by themselves and do their job by the protocol which they're trained to do, those are the ones that gets you killed. Those are the ones that absolutely will have you in a bad place and change your life, whether it's incarceration or death, because they're scared. They don't have the confidence to go out there and do it one-on-one. And I know every situation is different with whoever's being arrested, but in this case, this dude kept all his body weight on an individual who was a human being who had life. Now we have to sit up here and start collecting bodies. Ahmaud Arbery body hasn't even, got comfortable and temperatured. He hasn't even been dead that long. The trial haven't even started. Now we have another trial that's going to be looming on horizon, and George Floyd death. And it's not like it's new. It's not something that just was created. This is not a new patent. This has been around for quite some time, people. It's more and more the same facet or the same cadence that is being used. He looked dangerous. I was scared for my life. They're threatening. Please help me. I'm a frantic Karen. I need someone to come and save me from the big black wolf. Please, somebody do that. He murdered the man. In situations like this, it's our reason and the stillness that is leading us to repay this insanity. For real. He held his knee in the guy's neck and was laughing. be at war with people that's supposed to protect us. This is sad. Black Lives Matter. Jerry Allen, in situations like this, it's our reasoning and stillness that is leading us to repeat this insanity. Just saying. I'm trying to find another article for this guy. This officer. I just had a really good article. You know, it's not getting on here venting just because we have another black man that has passed. No, it's not that. It's absolutely just that. Another black man is passed in the wrong way. Lives taken when there could have been preventative measures. You know what I'm saying? Period. And I'm not in my process is going to be a savior for the entire populace of my ethnicity. It's not going to ever be that way. But I was born this way, and being in the South, as much of what I've experienced has taught me a lot. And it doesn't take much to sit up here and assess what you've seen on video that's all over. Like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's a horrendous video to look at. And I know you're probably saying to yourself, where we just saw Ahmaud Arbery get shot, and that was horrendous too. It absolutely was to see that man get shot point blank range with a shotgun, and watch as Travis walk away like he just shot a doe, a deer, or a motherfucking buck, or whatever you want to call it. Any type of wildlife. He treated that man like he was a stray dog. But to see this man suffer, it's just a lot that goes in when seeing somebody's life that's in front of you, that anybody that was close by, they could have did something about it a bit more. I'm not sitting up here placing any liability on them for not doing enough. I don't know them. I just think the people, even the lady who said she was a firefighter, it was a white lady that was standing there, that was saying, check his pulse. At least she was stepping up to say, you know what, check his fucking pulse. And she's telling Chow, the officer that was standing up there, I'm a firefighter. Here, check his pulse. But before she said that, he said, where? You're a firefighter, where? And she said, here. And he didn't move. So the account from Darnella Frazier, who filmed now viral video, Darnella Frazier, she is the one who filmed it, showing part of the police encounter, and says she watched Floyd being suffocated. Differs from that of the police who said Floyd was stopped because he matched the description of a suspect in a forgery case, resisted arrest, and then suffered medical distress. This is what I'm talking about. The deception, the lies, the lack of integrity, cold-hearted, absolutely malicious in all facets. Suffered medical distress. You're motherfucking right. He suffered medical distress. You're right. He was in distress when you got a knee and you can't breathe. You damn right. But call it for what it is. He suffered from an officer leaning with all his body weight on the man, suffocating him, choking him, however you want to call it, which led to his death, which contributed to his death. If the man was coherent and somehow, look, you can't have it both ways, right? But and when you word shit, you got to be very careful. You know, you got to be a reader. In this day and time, we don't have people that like to read. But in these particular verbiage that they put into writing to describe a very strict and sensitive situation like this, they're going to say medical distress. And in many ways, it is a medical distress. But who was influencing the medical distress? The knee that was on the man's neck. That was the fucking medical distress right there. He couldn't breathe. The incident has prompted an investigation from state and federal authorities, an apology from the city's mayor in comparison to other use of deadly force against Black Americans, particularly the death of Eric Garner. Here's what we know so far. In the video she posted on Facebook, Frazier said that she was on her way to see friends on May 25th when she saw Floyd outside of the grocery store on the south side of Minneapolis. Police had him pinned to the ground by his neck. She said in her telling, Floyd's face was being pressed so hard against the ground by the officer that his nose was bleeding. Once again, if you see in the video, you see his nose, they say his nose began to bleed. That means it was tremendous amount of pressure applied on his neck for his nose to start bleeding. She said she began recording the encounter and that police kneeled on Floyd's neck until he stopped moving, and then later carried his motionless body away on a stretcher. She later posted a 10-minute video on Facebook. This video began with Floyd lying on the ground with the police officer's knee pressed on his neck, a voice seemingly from the bystander saying, "You're going to just sit there with your knees on his neck?" And that was the brother who you see in the blue sweats in the thumbnail. I have to say he was very active in his distress. He was very active. He stayed consistent. And at one point in time, I know the officer tried to push him back and say, "Don't touch me again." And then the lady said, "You walk towards him." Floyd can be seen and heard voicing distress and saying repeatedly, "Please, please, I can't breathe. Please, I can't move." A bystander voice can be heard telling police, "You got him down, let him breathe." Minutes later, Floyd appeared motionless on the ground. A bystander again addressing police saying, "Bruh, he's not even fucking moving." Another voice is saying, "Get off his neck." One person asked, "Did you kill him?" Floyd's eyes appeared closed on his head. As he lies on the ground to a stretcher and into an ambulance. The police killed him, bruh. Right in front of everybody, Frazier said on video. He was crying, telling them like, "I can't breathe," and everything. They killed this man. I cannot sit up here and disagree with any of what these people was witnessing themselves as we witnessed it, as we saw it, come across social media. And also this article from PBS reports that what police have said. According to police department, 2 officers responded to a report of forgery in progress in the South Minneapolis neighborhood shortly after 8 p.m. The statement says that Floyd physically resisted officers. I'm trying to find out where they were struck. Did he land any punches? But he physically resisted, was handcuffed, and then appeared to be suffering medical distress. So somehow it's being blended. You see how the language changed? Once he was handcuffed, all of a sudden he's suffering medical distress. But before he was handcuffed, he was resisting. He was fully capable. He was strong. He was active, vibrant, full of adrenaline, resisting arrest. But all of a sudden, those silver braces come on. Oh shit, medical distress. The statement said he was transported to the county medical center by ambulance and died a short time later. The police department also announced that body cameras was on and activated during the incident. That footage was being turned over to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, BCA, a statewide criminal investigative office. The FBI are now investigating Floyd's death. Minneapolis Police Chief Madario Arredondo announced both officers involved in Floyd's death. Both involved in Floyd's death were on relief of duty status, meaning they have been removed from any law enforcement activity while the investigation unfolds. That's why I say you got to read more than one source, more than two sources. You know what I'm saying? You got to read several, because other ones are saying they've been terminated, and this one's saying they've been relieved of duty status, meaning they've been removed from any law enforcement activities while the investigation unfolds. On Tuesday afternoon, 4 responding officers who had been involved in the incident were fired. So what I'm seeing in the thumbnail is only 4, but they're saying that announced that the officers involved in Floyd's death were on relieved of duty state. So the 2 officers that's involved in his death could only be the 2 that's in close proximity. The one that has his knee on his neck and the other one is right by his side. Now, the 4 responding officers who had been involved in the incident were fired. So you're trying to tell me it's six officers that's involved, and the ones that responded end up being fired, but the ones, okay, whoever wrote this article, you'll clean that up. Mayor Jacob, they wrote on Twitter that the firings were the right call. Of course, the families have retained a civil rights attorney, Benjamin Crump, who also represented the families of Michael Brown and Ahmaud Arbery. If you don't know what Michael Brown was, I mean, another situation where you had a man that was, involved in potentially taking a minor, whatever he took out the store, stealing something out the store, and got into it with the clerk, and then went outside and, got into a little tussle and ended up being shot by law enforcement. This wasn't the case. The abusive, excessive, and inhumane use of force cost the life of a man who was being detained by the police for questioning about a non-violent charge. And that's important for you all to underline that, non-violent, because they did mention he resisted, but he was questioned about forgery. Forgery is a non-violent charge. But you see how it escalated? That non-violent charge, or him being suspected of something, led to his death because he resisted, he was detained, and he was restrained and suffocated and murdered. We will seek justice for the family of George Floyd as we demand answers from the Minnesota Police Department. How many Black deaths will it take until the racial profiling and undervaluing of Black lives by police finally end? And that is quote on pbs.org. Getting back to some of the live chat. He wasn't medically distressed when he was sitting. KZ said, do you even know what crime he committed to warrant to get the knee to death? Y'all see this individual who is obviously trying to vilify the fact of what happened. And the one thing I have to say, being that you have certain profiles that come in here with profile descriptions that don't make any sense at all. If you're talking something opposite of what I've already mentioned and read about him resisting arrest isn't a death penalty. That's all I can say to you. Resisting arrest isn't a death penalty unless you try to use deadly force against them, or you present a brandish a weapon, or whatever the case may be. It's just too many scenarios to go through. But right now, I think your direction and how you coming at this is very pretentious. You're looking for attention outside of a man being killed and murdered, when he could have very well just been taken down to the county and they could have found out was he the actual suspect. But that's not the way you do business, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to give you all the shine. And by the way, I just gotta assist you with something right quick. Let me assist you right quick, because you're trying to distract, what my direction is right now. So I gotta send you about your way, you punk ass. Do you even let me see. What crime did he commit? Just ignore, you're gonna have people on here. You're just talking. You just can't don't let them get you riled up too much. When people come in here with names and everything that don't make any sense, it's people that just creating profile as this live is going on, just to come on here and try to stir up and get off subject. But the man was murdered, period. They are censoring the other live videos at the scene. Oh, they are? Okay. So they definitely had other live videos. I'd like to see some of those, I'll tell you. KZ said, I know, right? World Combat Sports. The guy couldn't answer my question. It could have been a kid. And one thing I'm not on here to do is sit up here and entertain ignorance and stupidity and people just trying to make it about them. You ask them to show your face, you drop the link. You drop the link, right? Then they ain't gonna show their face. You know what I'm saying? Early stoppers say the cops will call for a potential forgery in progress, not an armed home invasion. Zero justification. I totally agree, man. It wasn't an armed invasion or anything to that matter. It was something that could have saved that man's life just for him paying the, if he was indeed the suspect for the forgery. Once again, it was a non-violent. They could have just, detained him, follow procedure, and then got all the answers they needed once he was down in the county. That's all you have to do. That's it. It's nothing else that needs to happen. That's it. But the distress, Mark say, it's one thing to restrain somebody for resisting. It's quite another for a cop to kneel on someone's neck after the suspect has been immobilized. True point, man. Great summation. Well said. Just like a lot of other comments that's been in the live chat this far. The man was face first. How low can you go, as they call it? How low can he go from there? He can't go any lower. George Floyd, he was at the lowest point in that situation. He couldn't go any lower. It's called pavement. He couldn't go any further. Now what comes into play is health restrictions. The man was in survival. We can't imagine what was going through his thought process when he was face down and, he was coming to the point of feeling the pain. You know what I'm saying? He started to feel the pain of the man's knee pressing down and rolling on his neck. We don't even know if he would have ever been the same after that, because the way he was just putting all his pressure on the man's neck, rolling his knee, Floyd potentially couldn't have been the same if he would have recovered. That's real talk. That's not bloviating the point. He could have been fucked up. Real talk. He could have been fucked up if he would have recovered. We don't know if he would have been able to tell his story or what exactly was going on. But what we do know from what we've seen is exactly that. You know what I'm saying? His hands was behind his back for a non-violent offense, allegedly. And all they had to do was question the man and get what they needed. And then if he wasn't the one, let him go. If not, but in this particular case, he didn't have a choice. The only option that he was given is survival. And it was very limited for which the two he was able to use to get himself out of this situation. There's no way he could have got out of this situation. He was done. A horrible way to die. Asphyxiation suffocation, however you want to put the description to it. It was a bad way to go out. Torture, being mad, knowing that you feel this hateful malefactor, this scoundrel, this evildoer rolling his knee on your neck, knowing that you ain't fucking moving, and you feel the pressure with him trying to fuck you up and fuck, just rolling shit on your neck intentionally to a point where, hey, you couldn't fight no more. Your body wouldn't allow you to fight no more. It's over. In front of the eyes of, onlookers that couldn't even save this man's life because they weren't willing to make that sacrifice. I understand why they didn't know the man, but when it comes down to making sacrifice, that's a decision that's different for everybody. You have some people that would have did it, and you have some that wouldn't even come close to it because they're not built that way. Their heart has never been cut from that cloth. There were spectators telling the cops the man was out. He had stopped moving within minutes. The cop continued on anyway without acknowledging the warnings. Yeah, man, he had his neck. And what make a lot of this more infuriating is that when the EMT showed up and they came over, and I'm not sure when they bent over what was said to the officer that had his knee on the guy's neck. But now you have even more individuals. So now I get it. Now I get what's going on. The two responders, the EMTs that showed up, I believe they've been placed on administrative because they're the ones who bent over and said something to the officer, and he still kept his knee on the neck. You know what I'm saying? He still kept it there. But the four that you see in the thumbnail, those are the ones that I'm assuming that was terminated, and rightfully so. They should have been terminated. M. Greg, what's good? What's good? Say salute to the chat. George say, blessing the eyes of CCTV, closed circuit television. In this time and age, wake up, my peeps. Please wake up. Marcus is one of the most forced deity. Wake up and see what's in your face. Who is Marcus? George. M. Greg, I agree. He said the officer should be in jail now. I agree, man. But what I'm not seeing is what they've taken down that I seen earlier. I gotta find it. They've taken down. Let me see if Yahoo. Let me see what I'm gonna see what Yahoo talking about, because I seen a article up here with the names. Man, it's a fucked up picture, man. I'm just looking at a close-up picture of George with his mouth open, with the man's knee on his neck. It's just fucked up. It's not even, you can't even freaking, you can't even just downplay it. It just looks bad every time you look at it with the knee and seeing the video, and George probably saying to himself, like, this is it. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. I'm in a bad place. I'm feeling bad. I hope this guy let up sometime soon. And his life was in the knee and in the hands of the officer that was pressing down on it, rolling his knee on the guy's neck. And unfortunately, too much time. You know what I'm saying? This is an article from Yahoo say, being in Black America should not be death sentence. For 5 minutes, We watched the white officer press his knee into a black man's neck. 5 minutes. When you hear someone calling for help, you're supposed to help. This officer failed in the most basic human sense. The mayor also called it awful and dramatic. And, you know, I know it's going to be a lot of people, if you want to, you know, correlate all this together, it's going to be a lot of people to come on here and say, well, he should have did what he's supposed to. Of course. In a lot of situations, when people have fatal repercussions to their actions, people are going to say, well, they should have. But look, not every time that somebody react a certain way, you know, everybody's different. We don't know what they have going on. We can't sit up here and be in every place at the same time. It's not a litmus, you know what I'm saying? So when it comes to individuals acting a certain way, it's up to those people who are trained to serve as peace officer to provide law and order. Those are the individuals that should increase their training and know how to de-escalate a situation. You're not going to really depend on someone that's supposed to be a suspect or falsely accused to give you the sung fraud that you're looking for all the time. It's not going to be very monotone. Everybody isn't just like that. Everybody doesn't operate off the same simulation. It's just not that way. We don't go around simulating good behavior every single day. We're not chipped. We're not influenced like that. So it's up to these officers that's out here patrolling to keep sustainment, law and order. They have to know how to de-escalate some of the most intense situations. They have to know how to do it. You just can't go around here just putting a bullet in people for non-violent offenses, putting a bullet in them because they're a little bit aggressive verbally. You know what I'm saying? And then if it get physical, some are just so scared to engage physically, even if they have non-lethal on them, they're scared to use it. They just pull out the gun and say, you know what, we can't depend on a taser because it doesn't drop everybody. And here we go. We have another guy that's 230 pounds. I don't think it's going to do too much. So I need to draw my pistol and squeeze off. That's the only way to actually stop the person. No, you can't do that, man. You can't do that for everybody. It's just wrong. It's fucking wrong. Thankfully, this video is going viral so quickly. Unlike the Ahmaud Arbery case, maybe justice will be served and not covered up for months. Yeah, down in Georgia, man, this shit was absolutely one of those relays that was halted. They didn't allow the baton to be passed, and the DA basically kept the video hush hush and said for the local law enforcement officers that was going to arrest the McMichaels, they said no, they was within Georgia law. All they was trying to do is make a civil arrest. But in order for you to make a civil arrest, you have to actually see the person commit a crime. They didn't see him committing any crime. It was just the fact that him, along with several other people, entered that same dwelling, and they decide to profile and pursue and hunt down Ahmaud Arbery because they did have familiarity with the kid. That's why certain DAs had to recuse themselves from taking over the case. But not to get off subject, I'm really hoping every bit of justice in upcoming days see these individuals locked up. You know what I'm saying? Because they deserve to be locked up and taken to court, period. Because the man died tragically, horrifically. You know, he was tortured, and for over 5 minutes, you up here suffocating the man with your knee in his neck. It's just inexcusable. It's inexcusable. The fact that the cops still try making excuses there is ridiculous. With his hand in his pocket and smiling. Yeah, that hand in the pocket, it just tells me that the man was all about the intent, you know? I mean, him having all his body weight without a care in the world. He know what his intentions was once he started putting his knee on the man's neck. Like I said, the video doesn't show what exactly happened to provoke this situation or whatever. We don't know the inception or the start or what happened initially when they tried to arrest the man, but I can tell you this. When we see the video, we don't see George Floyd throwing punches or kicks or cussing or none of that. He's just basically restrained on his face. I mean, how much more do you want? How much fucking more do you want? The man is in handcuffs. Look, if handcuffs isn't enough, then y'all need to come up with something else because we dying in handcuffs. We're dying being restrained. What else is it? What else do you need? You put a shotgun to anybody and pull the trigger point blank range, more than likely they're gonna die. You sit up there and we see it all the time in combat sports. Ask anybody who practices mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, even in the white belt could sit up there and explain to you what will happen if you cut off circulation with the right choke if it's applied correctly. Even the brother that was up there is saying he trained at a local academy around there. It's saying you know what? That's what we practice in jiu-jitsu. You're cutting off his circulation, man. He's gonna die. And guess what? Not long after that, he absolutely passed out. And when the brain is without oxygen, and look, not only that, people, check this out. Could you imagine if you're laying on the ground and the pressure from all his body weight with no oxygen to that man's brain? It probably felt like he was his head about to explode. That's why his nose started to bleed. You're putting all your body weight on that man's neck. His head probably felt like it was about to pop. There are so many variables to death, but when you're in the process of being placed in a situation where it's a slow death, it's fucking horrific, man. It's bad. Like I don't even want to get too much into it. It was just fucked up to see him go out the way he did from a guy who was rolling his motherfucking knee on the man's neck over and over again with his hand in his pocket, looking up at the camera without any type of concern, remorse. He didn't care. It was just like he was out to prove a point today. And I think about everything that led up to that point. I believe just because George Floyd resisted, he had a reason if the man was going to pass out to say, you know what? I was right in what I was doing in applying that much force. And then someone's going to look at the video and say, well, you had him handcuffed and you had two other officers by your side. How much more support do you need? That's all I'm saying. If that cop was still trying to make excuses, man, hey, that just goes to show you that they'll talk their way out. Some of them, they'll talk their way out all the way to the end until they have one more option to try to get out of it. But it's not going to, it can't happen. It's not going to go down like that. This is bad. This is bad. Look, I commend the people who was there, who tried their best to talk. But it comes to a point where dialogue is no longer useful. It's no longer effective. When a person is hell-bent on doing something specifically, you can plead, but dialogue is ineffective. It's moot. It's deaf ears. The audible cannot be heard the way it's supposed to. And if it is, You can't expect them to react accordingly the way it should be when somebody's saying, look, he's not moving anymore. And somebody say, oh, okay. I think that's enough right there. Let's get him up. No, he just kept his knee on there, kept his knee. And for somebody who's going to look at this in a jury in a court of law and say you was looking directly at the man, look at you. You have your hand in your pocket and you're staring down at the man's face. So he's not saying anything anymore. He's not moving. He's not an active unit when it comes to someone still having motion. Your knee is on his neck, so you can feel him resisting. He was uncomfortable. You make sure of that. You fucked him up. Wing said should be charged with murder. One hand in the pocket means the knee was unnecessary force by definition. 907 said I just uploaded a new video of him from restaurant footage showing him not resisting. I have to try to check that out, Dan. I just have to try to check it. You know what? Come to think about it, let me you know what I'm gonna do? Let me try to find. I'm gonna share screen. I'm gonna put this shit up. I don't want to see. Okay, this is the right call. Officer involved in incident fired. I'm gonna try to find a video that's different than the one that's just going around with the curbside video. I'm trying to find any video that he just mentioned that might be up that's different. Okay, this is the same video already seen, so there's no need to play that. Wing 7, how many knees does it take for cops to murder unarmed handcuffed man laying on the ground? I'm not sure what you mean, but it was 3 officers over there on that guy, and not all of them had a knee on them. It looked like they did. They was restraining his legs, but as you see from my thumbnail, that one that's looking down, even in the thumbnail, the primary one, I think his first name is Charles, I believe. I know his left knee was pressing hard. I'm not sure what his right knee was, but the other 2 officers to his side, it's just a bad look all the way around, because they act like, I mean, what are you looking for? Obviously, you have him down and you patted him. You searched him and he didn't have any weapons, because that's not coming up in the report that the man had any weapons. The video doesn't show him kicking around and being violent while handcuffed with his hands behind his back. It doesn't show him injuring or harming any of the enforcement officers that was there, especially the one with his knee on his neck. You know what I'm saying? So where's it a serious threat? Where's it deleterious to the well-being of 3 grown men as we're looking at it on the video? I just don't see it, man. Okay, Wing 7 said that's what I mean. It takes 1 knee. Yeah. David said, I have watched the whole thing twice now. I can't get over the impression that all 4 of them held him there long enough to make sure he was well and fully dead. Well, from my understanding now, reading about the 2 that showed up and pulled the stretcher out while the other officer kept his knee on there and finally rolled him over. The man is unconscious, picked him up. I mean, the damage has been done. So I am assuming, in actuality, those 4 that's in the thumbnail has been terminated. And then the other 2 responders that showed up, they're the ones that's been suspended. That's what I can assume from this. But in reality, The whole process is has to cease when it comes to situations like this for nonviolent offenses. Even if they didn't determine if indeed he was the one committing forgery, it's a nonviolent offense. You know what I'm saying? It's nonviolent. And we see a lot of that too much at this day and time. Nonviolence being escalated into an intense situation, which may lead to a loss of life. It may go from nonviolent to violence, and then unnecessary lethal force being applied for a situation that was provocated from people who were scared to do their job. You don't need 9 units for one black man. You don't need that. It gets all bad when you have an officer call for backup that's not sure of themselves some of the time, but a lot of them are. But some of the time they're not sure of themselves, so they call for backup. And when they call for backup, is highly exaggerated into what's going on. You're not going to say, yeah, I just need backup. I have this driver up here. He's calm. He's monotone. Everything's going fine. But I just want backup. I need about three more units. That's not the way it goes. Oh, on suspicion of him, he might have weapons in the car. He's fidgeting around a lot. He's shaking. He's very short with his answers. I'm not sure what's going on here. It just seems like something isn't right. So just make sure you bring the whole goddamn unit, the whole goddamn task force up here. Everybody that you got, bring everybody. Bring the K9 unit, everything. I need to ask, how many suspects you? Oh, it's just one. I mean, give us a description. I mean, come on, man. You have all that at your leisure, man. You can call in whatever you fucking want. You have all the tools and resources right there to make a proper call. It just gets bad, man. It's getting bad. And don't blame it on goddamn COVID-19. This shit's been going on way before COVID-19, y'all. It's just been going on way before COVID-19. Don't get it twisted. Will the cops be charged? I really can't speak on something that's out of the scope of anyone's authority that wasn't actually in the department. I'm pretty sure if they're terminated, the reasons for them being terminated is as liable, which would definitely bleed over to them potentially having charges. Not everybody that's there. I'm not sure how their statute of law is, but sometimes when you are there on the scene and a person died and you could have did something about it, it becomes compliant or whatever the case may be. So I'm really not going to sit up here and tell you something as like I went in there and studied the bar exam. No, I'm just saying in general, sometimes when you have individuals that's associated, especially in law enforcement, military, anything that you take an oath, when you was right there on site where the action was actually taking place, the crime was actually taking place, and you did very little to prevent the tragedy or the death, they may indeed try to charge you as if you are an accomplice or you was compliant to it. Now we all know, well, we don't know. I'll take that back. We don't know if everybody that's right there, the three that's squatted down next to the truck, we don't know the conversation they was having. I'm not gonna sit up here and vouch for them. All I know is neither of the three Exclude the one that's standing up there doing nothing. But just take the three that's squatted down near the video. They actually have contact with the suspect, physical contact. So therefore, they totally understand. And for what I'm seeing right here is that the man's arm was restrained too. So he had his foot on his neck and his right knee on the man's left arm. So the man was fully restrained by two officers with his legs, and his arms was restrained in this particular shot. So I'm pretty sure during that point in time, they handcuffed the man. You know what I'm saying? Because in this thumbnail, it shows George Floyd with his hand underneath the right knee of the officer who also has his left knee on his neck. Very fucked up situation. Seriously. The DA will review the case, and if the DA office isn't corrupt and don't protect the cops, then you may see justice. Not in this case, 007. I think the DA has nothing to do with protection in this matter, being that how much of an influence the mayor has already made his presence. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, when it comes to him making sure these law enforcement were fired, it's going to be difficult for them to turn around weeks. You know what I'm saying? Weeks after, as this is not going to be quiet in a couple of weeks, because we still have Ahmaud Arbery that's fresh on the surface right now. And now we have George Floyd, which we actually had the opportunity to see and witness on video, just like Ahmaud Arbery. Both of these, we had the opportunity to see video. And that's why it's deep protest. It's a large group. It's a large gathering of protesters right now over there because of it. BC say time for revolutions. Now we need to take back our power. Not sure what power that you're looking for there, BC. What power are you looking for? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah. Hey, those of you just jumped in. I'm not going to spend time hosting stupidity. It's all about the individual, amongst others, who's been killed recently unlawfully. It doesn't fall within the guidelines of those individuals who was trained um, to protect and serve, and those individuals who may have once upon a time been on the force to protect. But when it comes down to it, shit that's on the camera, you cannot sit up here and soothe it over and come up with excuses to say, you know what, we got him for a nonviolent offense, but it led to his death because he resisted. No, it's up to you to de-escalate, de-escalate, de-escalate. De-escalation doesn't mean death. I know every situation, the heightened alert is different, but I'm just saying every situation when it involves de-escalation does not mean death. Lethal force, it does not mean that. You cannot sit up here and say in one breath that certain individuals like blacks are inferior to pretty much be equal of anybody else. And then on the other hand, we shouldn't stand up for ourselves. We just, we come upon this unheard of amount of strength where we need umpteenth amount of extra units and human beings to take down one person. That just isn't logical. It isn't fair. It isn't lawful. Any of that. So it needs to stop. It's not a game. I can't even say stop playing because it ain't playing out here. When you're losing lives, you ain't playing. It's just real. You have a lot of individuals that don't like it, but don't get it twisted. Shit's been going on forever and a day. All I'm saying is the people that was involved in these scenarios that went down, they should be tried and punished accordingly. That's all. This is sad. I only see one resolution. My thoughts are not good. I'm looking forward to hearing the comments in the live chat. So therefore, if you have valid comments in the live chat, cool. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate the ones that's in the live chat that's stopping through as we're talking about, yeah, I put Shield the Cowards Exposed. What I mean by that is they're on video doing an unlawful act, which led to a man's death, period. That has nothing to do with encompassing totally of every freaking law enforcement. No, that's not the case. You're not going to place that upon me. I'm just speaking out about the situations, plural, especially the more recent ones that has to stop. If you're trained to do something in the best way possible to save lives and protect, then do it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to overstep and take lives just for simple matters. You don't have to go through that shit. You can be better. You can train yourself to be better. If you're not comfortable with handling someone one-on-one, guess what? Call for backup, the right one. And then when they come on deck, if it's a seniority or whatever the case may be, let them know that I haven't had any problems. I just needed you here for backup. Don't sit up there once they get on deck and just let them go Rambo. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them go Rambo. Control the area. Control the damn room, man. That's all you have to do. Don't sit up there and let them just go Rambo for no reason. Like people don't have family to go home to. Like they ain't a human being. Like they don't have a life that's valuable. People have to feel the police whenever they see them. The police need to be policed by the people. And there are people that's policing. Sometimes the video is out and sometimes it's not. But in this case with Ahmaud Arbery, the accomplice was actually one of the ones that allowed the viewers to see it from a different angle. You know what I'm saying? and he's now locked up too. But in this particular case, out in the open, in public, doing normal traffic, foot traffic, mobile traffic. This is out in the open. No hiding, not at nighttime. This is in the broad daylight. Casey said the guy was unarmed and was being questioned because he fit the description and was murdered for it. I totally agree, man. That's what they said in the article, for a non-violent offense such as forgery. Now his life has been written away. I have a 2-year-old son, 2 stepdaughters that are 15 and 13. How am I supposed to raise kids on a society like this? I'm emotionally drained. I agree, man. It's difficult to teach kids about the unexpected. You know what I'm saying? Because these kids this day and time are not too concerned, because they're not actively in the out in society. They're not actively out. They're basically online. And though they're able to see certain things on social media, that doesn't mean you're going to know what to do once you are basically faced with the scenario. How are you going to handle it? That's the only thing I'm talking. These kids are much different this day and time. You can tell them about the history, and how to treat people. But if they're not really attuned or adept to listening, and their parents is not consistent, I mean, some kids will understand how important it is, and some kid won't. Period. But we live in a society where a lot of kids are basically inside. They're on their phones. They're doing other things on social media. They're not really paying attention to current events unless it's something that's floating around social media from user to user. But I hear you, man. Me being prior military, y'all should understand this. I definitely won't call law enforcement that. Absolutely, I don't. It's not something that anyone else is going to influence me to do or speak for me or whatever. I'm speaking on the subject at hand. Everybody that's in law enforcement isn't that way, and also they're prior military in law enforcement. Every law enforcement isn't bad individuals, but when you speak on a situation dealing with law enforcement, everybody wants to attempt to encompass the entire force, and that's not the way it is. Not with me. But the shit needs to stop. I'll tell you that. That shit needs to stop. Casey said, would rather have the kids in home on their phones than subject themselves to the world like this. I agree partially there, KZ, and disagree. It's 50-50. The reason being is, yeah, you can say it's a safe haven with them under the guidance and supervision of their parents and stuff like that, internal to the home. I get what you're saying on that, all levels. But what are they going to do when they're actually presented with adulthood, young adulthood, and they're getting out more into this civilization, and they have to deal with all the scenarios we've been talking to them about that they really haven't physically been presented with. So once they're out here in society and they have to deal with these individuals, when you keep them inside and somewhat harbor, and keep them secluded a little bit just because it's a safe haven, in my opinion, is definitely will set them up for a bit of failure, because they're not going to have any type of user-friendly skills to handle the situation without being overly offensive. I'm not speaking for all kids, but they may be overly offensive to the situation. They may feel like, damn, I never had nobody talk to me like this before. I never had anybody say some shit like this to me before. This is fucked up. Like, who the fuck you think you're talking? I mean, if you hear it, if even if you had some type of experiences or encounters, then it will get you just a little bit warm and fuzzy in order to handle it the right way instead of overdoing it. Because we all know that overdoing it can lose your life. It can get you in a situation where potentially you can lose your life for something that is considered light. You know what I'm saying? Something that considered innocuous. That's fact. I totally get what you're saying. You know, the kids inside, supervision, close supervision, teaching them, hoping you raising them the right way, and then to go out here and experience a situation for the first time, and you get that phone call. The phone call is the problem. And hopefully you get the right situation, you get the right story. Not because your child was just asking questions because they didn't know. Hopefully someone doesn't sit up here and exaggerate culpability on your kid when they was just in panic mode and they was just trying to find answers at the wrong time. That happens, people, especially down here in the South. Kids will question authority and trying to find out answers because they never really been in that situation. And they don't know how to respond. They don't know how to react to it. And they end up all bad. Seriously. KZ said, yeah, I agree, but there's always going to be an altercation some of us go through in life, whether it be cops, civilians, whoever. We got to learn how to cope as we live and learn. True, I agree with that. Absolutely. I totally agree. That's sensible. It is said with maturity and experience. I get it. The more kids are in the house, the less altercation they have. To be honest, like I said, I agree with the in-house, the safe haven, you know, the close proximity supervision, all that. I agree. But coming down here from, you know, seeing individuals growing up being, how you put it, overprotective homes, trying to keep close supervision. Just put it this way: growing up in a home where you have parents, just say for instance, you have parents that's in the church and you can't do a whole lot of stuff. You can't listen to a certain amount of things or whatever. So when the kid get used to going out just a little bit more on the back end of their high school career, and if they choose to go get a job or whatever, or go to college, they start experiencing more adult type of interactions, right? So once they're able to experience these interactions, they get to meet different people who they pretty much haven't had to deal with for a long time because they've been in the house. So if these individuals are good people and they're able to teach them something positive, cool. But then you get some that are very maniacal and they find somebody that's green to being out here in the streets and knowing certain things, and your kid have to make conscious decisions. And some of these kids this day and time are known not to have common sense. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand if your kid have common sense or not. And then sometimes common sense ain't enough. They got to have street smarts. Your parents can only save you for so long. But if you a kid that's in there, you have a parent that you respect, you love, and you listen and you absorb what they talk. Okay, cool. And you have a strong will. to understand what they're telling you is in your best interest, cool, I get it. But you have some of these kids who are just mandated to a mobile phone or a computer or gaming, and they really have limited themselves to any type of physical sports or activities, whatever the case may be, man. And they get out here and meet some kids who had no option except to be outside and be in the streets and roaming around from house to house. You know what I'm saying? Had a little bit difficult. It's gonna be tough because them kids are basically, at one point in their life, they ran into individuals that was running game on them at a young age, and they learned the game. So now that your kid is a bit green, I'm not saying your kid in general, KZ. I'm talking about the kid in scenario based. They are here being subjected to all this. They have to figure on the fly. And we all know on the job training is not for everybody, especially in these streets, man. Even when it comes to racism, you can tell your kids certain things about what's in society and what they may experience as Black kids, as African-American kids. But that doesn't mean they're going to be absolutely prepared for it once it is presented to them, because everybody's different. Every situation is different. So it's very tough to try to just moderate everything and hopefully it goes smooth with everybody's kid. No, that shit, that's not the case. But today, man, George Floyd wasn't the perfect guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, its videos is out already. I think one of his family members was saying that he was up there to get a new start. We're not perfect. I'm not sure what else was going on in his life, but we're all not perfect. But when it comes down to the situation that unfolded, it absolutely, man, should be investigated thoroughly. And I'm pretty sure it will. And we just don't want to see any excuses coming out from, oh, it was a medical distress and he died from medical. Man, what else is it going to take? If this shit is a medical distress enforced by physical contact, then it's pretty much a no-brainer when it comes back from the autopsy on what he died. Hell yeah. It's not going to be blunt force trauma. They wasn't striking the man. Real talk. They wasn't striking him. They was applying pressure. Hold on for a second, y'all. Yeah. Let's see. You know, unfortunately, not every kid will grow up having a combination of street smarts and home smarts. We should live in a world where they shouldn't have to have both of them. You got to pick your poison. Well, it's definitely up to what your parents had going on in their lives too. That's real talk. And when I say that, I'm just dichotomizing the good and the bad. You know, your parents had the opportunity to be in another place where the surroundings were positive and educational, and you know the influence wasn't that of consistent negativity or preparing your kids to step outside because you know what your neighbors are. You can have that in any situation, but what I'm saying is it's plenty of areas where, depending on where you reside, it can be good and it can be bad. Even if you can be in a good neighborhood. I've been in some good neighborhoods where you still have some knuckleheads. You have some assholes. You know what I'm saying? It all depends. And even military bases. Military bases are good places to live, so to speak, but you cannot live on a military base 24/7 once you're out of the military. You can't sit there and live on base housing where the environment is much different. And believe it or not, some of the military kids are the worst kids you ever meet in your life. You can put that in parentheses. I said it because I can. I've seen it. Military kids are some of the worst kids you're having your proximity. And you say, oh, your parents was military? Yes. Military kids are some of the worst kids you'll ever meet. Because when the man of the household or the mother of the household, if in case, on point, are deployed for a long period of time, just imagine leaving your kids at home with another parent or a relative, and you going over to Iraq for 8 to 12 months. You come back and you with your kid for maybe 6 months, 7 months, and then you have to go on another deployment. Your kid is growing up. It fucks the household up. I know it's a little bit off topic than my active talking point, but I'm just saying it fucks the household up. So, man, you can say Hollywood, for instance, but then I could tell you in Hollywood, when I was 17 and had the opportunity to go there from base, because I always wanted to go to Hollywood, all the drugs and shit that's there, all the extracurricular activities, the hustle. If you got the money, it can get funny real quick. It don't matter what age you are. They have so many people hustling on Sunset and all through Hollywood. It's unbelievable. All you got to do is have the money. But in this particular case, man, I don't know. You can just sit there and pray for your kids, and hopefully they have a strong enough mindset to go out here and want to get it. But always remember, I told you. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. If you plan on staying in the military for a long period of time and being away from your kids, and expect them not to grow up and have a bit of disrespect, or you get a letter, you're in Iraq, and you get a letter or a phone call saying your kid got in some trouble or whatever the case, you can't just leave. You got to have somebody else take care of that. Whoever had the power of attorney, that's who you have to have. It's crazy, man. Dundada, what's good, man? Thanks for dropping in. But that's basically what I wanted to talk about, man. This is a real touchy, sensitive situation, and I totally understand being a computer data chief, officer. I mean, the good thing about it is having an opportunity to have a little bit more depth about the intricacies of internet protocols, bits and bytes, point-to-point connections, being able to trace IP, users and everything, which is good because people come around here and create accounts on YouTube and actually believe that it's no way, shape, or form you can find out the location of that internet protocol. You know what I'm saying? I mean, You're going to get that in here. But most of it, I'll say today, 85%, I will give credit to those of you that dropped comments that pertain to George Floyd and the officers who was involved losing his life, took it serious enough to understand where I was coming from. You know, it's not going to be no racist shit. Don't no motherfucking control me. None of y'all are going to come up here and do shit for me and my family. If indeed I was sitting up here trying to get y'all together. Let's get together. Let's make change. Man, come on now. A lot of y'all ain't built that way to basically defend somebody you never met in your life. Let's be honest. A lot of you would never take that step because you don't feel what the risk is beneficial to you for. How are you going to benefit from taking a risk for somebody you never met? It's just not going to go down like that. You know what it is. People are just not going to risk their lives for somebody that you never met unless you are in an environment such as military, law enforcement, special forces, first responders, all that. That's when it comes down to what you were sworn to do, and then others' lives would be attached to you as a team. That's the way it works, people. These people get on YouTube speaking about this other stuff, uprising and all that. That's not what it's about. George say bless, bro. You say sit and pray and hope. Thanks for the content we need. Appreciate it. Yeah, we definitely have to always keep God. I don't get too much in religion on here. I really don't. But you should know who you pray to, your supreme being. You know what I'm saying? Pray to your supreme being and get it out. And all we can do is pray for a decision that is right, something that is balanced correctly, and they don't take this situation as something that's overlaid with an excuse for the reason why he was laying face first on the pavement. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to overlay of repercussions. Or what led to this was because he resisted arrest, and then he was restrained, and in the restraint, the officers felt like he was deleterious to them and their compeers, so they had to make sure they apply pressure, which was taught in the academy. And while the officer was looking at him, he felt he okay. You know, he seemed like he was okay. He was begging for his life. He had life. He was begging. But also they're going to look at the autopsy. And another thing, when it comes to language, the autopsy is going to come back and say, well, did this man had drugs in the system? So potentially there may be a bleed over. Well, they say, well, he had drugs in the system. And then we have to know the amount of drugs. What drugs was it? And if it was an inhibitor for him to have more strength than usual, man, all this shit's going to play a role. I'm telling you, if it comes down to them taking the autopsy to exonerate some of these officers, if that's the case, because you know the officers that got fired is going to have to get attorneys. And they're going to have to look at all this evidence and try to prove the innocence of these cops. Period. Don't I say God is bigger than all religions combined? Yeah, it's just all about who has faith. Where your faith lies, that's all. Consistently, where your faith lies. But TJ Sports did make a very sound statement as far as his comment that he dropped, you know, about kids this day and time. And you know, and when your kids get old enough, the life they live, man, kind of gets out of our control. We can only raise them and cultivate them into something special by basically applying all the seeds that we possibly can, putting all them seeds in that we possibly can. It's up to them to allow the branches once they get older and then they start their own lives and have their own family. That's all we can hope. Because when you take prayer out of the schools, and now it's all of a sudden unlawful, or it's an odd type of behavior to pray and hold the hand of your classmate, it become a problem. Because if kids don't have religion to depend, then it's a problem. It's a big problem. If they just have their mobile phones to situate themselves with, it's a problem. Because we all know how distorted information is on social media. We know that. Social media is a very deceptive layer to the multimedia. Very deceptive. Damn, I definitely have to carry a tool, not violent, but not going out like that. I do my time if need be. I don't know who you are, Che, but I'm not the one to sit up here and discount whoever you are and what you choose to carry. You know what I'm saying? If that's what you choose to have for us, your protection, where you at, man, I can't sit up here and say any less. But you know, Georgia's a carry state, like many others. Florida has stand your ground law. I mean, it's so many areas. Look how faith is U.S. facing us, correcting our wrong among us, then face whoever to do right by us. Bless. Look how our faith is U.S. facing us, correcting our wrong among us, then face whoever do right by us. What we need is more of us to do right by one another. If we can do right without one another, without expecting someone to do for us first, or take the lead, or basically starting individuals off with 0% in any type of trust that we have, then it might be a calmer place. It might be more of a more positive, friendly connection. But when you got people starting you off with negative freaking 55 and communicating with you as if you up to no good, and then treating you like a criminal when you have no record, and then they try to act like they want to enforce a record upon you by putting you in situations that are pretentious, premeditated, then it becomes a whole different situation. But it's been a pleasure, people. It's been an absolute pleasure for such a tough situation, a tough talking point, to be honest. I'm kind of off my normal routine about talking about boxing and MMA. Sometimes this is not going to be any deeper than certain situations like this. I'm not getting into politics, religion, current events every day. I'm not a news channel. I'm a combat sports channel. But I am also a black man in society, a prior vet, retired Marine, and my sense of thinking isn't one way because I've seen a lot of it. And you know, I'm a combat vet too. But no, I don't use my channel to sit up here and say I'm a vet all the time so more people can tune in to the channel, because basically it's not something that I have to do, because vets are not going to tune in. Even though there's a lot of vets out there, they'll be the main ones chiming in saying, oh, you're trying to work off the backs of veterans who sack. I don't want to hear that bullshit. I retired. I did 20 years in that damn outfit. I don't have to explain shit to any vet or anybody else. All I'm saying is, if you look back at my videos, I don't sit up here and post it even in my description or anything. For those of you that follow me know that I'm a prior vet. That's all that needs to be said. That's it. My way of thinking, from seeing what I've seen all over the world, is not going to be one dimensional. Being out on your own at 17, leaving where you grew up, out into the real world, you learn shit the hard way sometime. And you get educated. Education is very important in dealing with people. Everyday life ain't perfect, but we understand that communication means everything. Always remember, the tongue is a sword to life and death. The tongue is the sword to life and death. Remember that. Your words is everything. Don say, is it a hate crime? I don't know, man. You know, that's a good question, because when it comes down to them doing investigation and hearing that this officer had prior on duty shootings, I'm not saying it had anything to do with black man or whatever. I don't know. I haven't really did that much research into him because they just got fired. But I'm pretty sure a lot is gonna come out on those individuals that were fired and terminated or whatever the case may be from the law enforcement. Whether it's a hate crime or not, it's gonna have to be some type of text, or when they confiscate the phones or anything else, to pretty much know if this individual who had his knee and caused the death of medical distress of this black man, George Floyd, it'll all come out in the wash. You know what I'm saying? I don't see right now, just from what's happening, I can't make a determination if it was hate, but I can look at his face and look that he had hate in him, to not even have any remorse about this man having a family, not knowing who this gentleman was, didn't care who he was, continued to press his neck, even when he was motionless, you know what I'm saying, restrained, an innocuous being. He had did what he's supposed to do. I felt he had hate in his expression and his body language to sit there and continue to roll his knee over the guy's neck. That's all I got on this subject matter. Appreciate everyone for turning in. For dropping through and dropping your live chat. Shout out to the wrenches. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.